Thanks for downloading this episode from Teachers Talk Radio. You can find the full schedule and listen back to all our shows at ttradio.org. Enjoy the podcast.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Twilight Show. Hope you are all well and are enjoying a nice summer break. It's not over yet, guys. Let's remind ourselves that we've still got a few more days of our summer holiday to go. I'm expecting a guest to pop in at some time. I think they might have been a little bit held up. So for now, guys, you've just got to deal with myself. And yeah, I really just thought it'd be nice to catch up. I've been away for 4 weeks, guys. I've been on holiday, so I've still been keeping sort of tabs on what's been going on in the profession, particularly looking across X or Twitter. And what I've realised is the same things tend to come up time and time again, and things go round and round. So I thought, well, that's why I called this show Big Changes or More of the Same, because at the end of the day, if you've been in teaching a long time, as I have, coming up to a quarter of a century, which I do try to keep fairly quiet about, but when you've seen it and done it a few times, you do notice things sort of coming round in loops. So I'm hoping that Yannick will pop in at some stage. I'll keep an eye out for that. There might have been some technical issues on his end, but I'm hoping that we will see Yannick soon. I've spoken to Yannick a couple of times before. He's an experienced teacher of MFL. I believe he teaches in the north of the country, whereas I'm a little bit further south where I am currently. So, as I said, we're on Teachers Talk Radio. And one of the things I really like about this station is it gives teachers, classroom teachers, a bit of a platform. So if you've not sort of seen any of the shows before and you happen to have popped in and having a look, that's something that I really do like about this platform, is it gives people a chance who wouldn't normally maybe have that opportunity and that voice to talk about how they feel and about the profession. And some interesting things do come out. This show wouldn't be happening at all if it wasn't for Hatchet Learning, guys. This show is brought to you in partnership with Hatchet Learning, who are publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. So you can level up your professional development today and visit www.hatchetlearning.com. And that is Hatchet, spelled H-A-C-H-E-T-T-E. So H-A-C-H-E-T-T-E. Hatchet Learning, guys. So give that a look. If you're into educational podcasts, another podcast that you can check out is the Chalk and Talk podcast. So if you're looking for another great education podcast, this one is presented by Anna Stokey. Anna is a passionate advocate for evidence-based math education for students of all ages. On her podcast, she talks about everything from effective teaching methods and how-to guides for teaching math facts to tips for evaluating research shows claims. She brings on top-notch guests, educators, researchers, and policymakers, and discusses issues that directly impact teachers and students. Chalk and Talk is for anyone interested in education. Find it wherever you get your podcast, guys. So do check that one out as well. That's the Chalk and Talk podcast. And before I start to get into some of the things I'd like to discuss, the other thing that you may be interested in, if you are a teacher of history, geography, or RS, if you are, get along to Manchester on Saturday the 20th of September for TTR Humanities, a day of CPD and networking brought to you for free. So grab your tickets on the pinned post on the TTRX account or visit the website ttradio.org/events. So a few things for you to check out there, guys. Okay, so as I said, the other thing that I would like to say is it's really good if people can get involved with these shows. So obviously this show goes out across several platforms. If you would like to comment on any of the things that we touch upon in any of our shows, then you'll find a comment box down below at the bottom of your screen somewhere. If you put a comment on there, then it will appear. I can see that comment and we can have a little chat, and you maybe want to pick up on some of the things that we talk about during the podcast. It may be that I try and get in touch with my guest who may still be popping in. So that is still a potential that that Yannick will pop in. And maybe some issues his end with that. So we'll just see if Yannick comes along. But at the moment, guys, you've got me. It's just me on my own. So I was having a little think about this, guys. And I was interested to look at the things that are topical at the moment in teaching. As I said, some of these things come round sort of on a regular, and some things might be quite new, but some things change and some things stay the same, as we know. Obviously, one of the things that you may have experienced recently as teachers is results day. Now, I just wanted to talk for a little bit about results day because it is something that I have seen again across X, and the fact that for some people that may be very stressful. Of course, there was a time when we had performance management that might be linked to results and outcomes. Fortunately, I think that's something that has maybe started to reduce and die out in recent times, but I have heard people still talking about this idea that the outcomes maybe of your classes or your faculty might be linked to your performance management. Now, I feel like I've in a privileged position with that because recent schools I've worked at haven't actually sort of put me under that much pressure, let's say. I haven't really felt like, I'm under that much pressure for that. And I've got Tom who's just come in with a comment there. Mr. Rogers has come in with a comment. So he's saying results day and the time between that and including inset days, I found the most stressful in the whole year. Wow. I know it was supposed to be a holiday. So that, again, even when you're on holiday, that stress is creeping in, guys. That dread, isn't it? We call it the Monday dread. I suppose it's the September dread, isn't it, guys? But results, yeah, it's a funny one. Like I said, I've been really privileged. I've never felt hugely under pressure myself with results. And I don't know whether that's because I've tended to have people managing me who maybe took that pressure for me, or maybe they were very realistic about expectations. Unfortunately, I wasn't even able to go into results day today. So this year, because I was away, I'm going to try not to rub it in too much. I have been away in Thailand for 4 weeks. I am still feeling a little bit of jet lag. I met up with some colleagues of mine today. They weren't particularly sympathetic because I'd obviously been away on holiday. But yeah. Oh, looks like we might have Yannick just coming in. That is really good timing. I'll just give Yannick a second to get his bearings. I'm just going to see if he's ready to come in, guys. Let's see. Let's surprise him. Can you hear us?
Sorry.
No, don't worry. Don't worry. It's that sort of time of year, isn't it, when the schedules go out of the window, isn't it? And
we are still on holiday. Let's remind everybody we're still on holiday.
Yes. Yeah, we've just been talking about that. I've been away for 4 weeks. I only got back 2 days ago, and I'm feeling a little bit of jet lag even now. But like I said, how are you feeling, Yannick? Anyway, how's your holiday been?
Very good, very good. Yes, it's kind of a nice time to, it's nearly a nice time for a break. Unfortunately, someone has made sure that results are bang in the middle, so that you can't have every single teacher. I mean, especially if you're SLT, I guess, which is where really you get worth your money, is when you've got to be back really and support the students, the parents get stressed about your results.
Yes.
And whereas as a teacher, there's I think maybe more of an opportunity to find out about your results without necessarily being as worried or stressed. But that is something like, for example, in France, I always tell my friends, when especially the A level students take it in June, and by the end of June, start of July, it's marked. Start of July, you get your results. If you haven't gone through, you've got an opportunity to resit, but it's oral exams, and then it's done until September. There's nothing to worry about, and maybe that we should have a system that kind of maybe allows people to really get sorted before the holiday.
Yeah, I mean that would be ideal, wouldn't it? And obviously you've got the last minute rush. You, as a student, you get your results. You've then got quite a short amount of time between getting your results and then starting the course, if you're able to start that course. And if you can't, then you've got a bigger problem where you've got to try and find an establishment if you didn't get your first choice or whatever.
Yeah.
And I certainly found that with my kids, it was neither of them got what they really wanted to get, so we had that scramble, and it was a very stressful time. As a parent, I think I felt more stressed as a parent around that time than I do for in my professional life.
Quite right. And if you think like I mark for a board as well, and I finish marking by the end of June. So there is nothing really. Well, there will be some admin, but we could get better at that. There's nothing that prevents every result to be in before we break. I don't know why. And to add to that, 2 lots, so A level, and next year. So my son's doing his A level next year, and his results are the 13th of August. It's incredibly early. I mean, come on. That's banging. So you can't take 4 weeks off. You can't. You got to have a bit before, a bit after. A lot of people do that, I know. But
yeah, I mean, I didn't go in for results day. Maybe that's my failing. I don't know. Did you go in for results day yourself, Yannick?
Pass. No. And I tell you what as well. So interestingly, I used. I probably shouldn't say that, but I'll be honest. I used to work in further education, and the big problem I had with that is that, I mean, that a couple of problems is that, one, there was very little opportunity for promotion, for moving. But two, so we finished about 1 or 2 weeks before in July, and then I needed to be back for A-level results day, and that was it. After that, there was enrollment, so actually I had a lot less holiday, and at some point I thought, well, I need to go back into mainstream education because you get more holiday and the pay is the same. Now, there was obviously, well, again, what some people would say perks is like teaching only A level is supposedly great, although I think it's changed. There was also a lot of pressure because you had exam classes, of course. But yes, and yes, I've seen a lot of discussion about the reliability. Well, at least the number of errors made in grades for students. Yes, I've seen a lot of that. So it's quite interesting as well that I don't know. I mean, I mark for a board, obviously, so I like to think that I'm as accurate as possible. And I mean, there are some absolute horror stories. I mean, you will probably have experienced some as well, where your students end up with 2 or 3 grades, or 2 grades above when it's remarked.
Yeah, I think someone. I mean, first of all, that's interesting from my point of view as someone who hasn't worked in a further education. So what you're basically saying is you don't get as long a holiday because you've got to deal with the fallout from the from the results and everything else. And I suppose some SLT, if you're on SLT, if you're a head teacher, I suppose you need to be around. You need to look at the remark situation, and that's something that I have heard recently. Is there's a lot. I think I saw a comment on X about the fact that there seems to be quite a large number of remarking needed, and some people go, like you say, going up not by one grade, but like by 2 or 3 grades, which is crazy.
So it was very interesting. There was there were some stats which show there were a lot of remarks and a lot of changes, but then someone made another comment saying, well, actually, considering the huge number of exams, it's not a lot. It's difficult because, as usual, you can't have no mistakes. People marking are humans, and it's not good enough. Okay, I agree. It's also easy to say, what can we do to make things better? Yes, scripts being lost. Yes, when it happens to you, of course, it's outrageous. I agree. There's now to think that there can be no mistakes is completely unrealistic. I mean, we all make mistakes all the time in any kind of anything we do. So I'm always very cautious about throwing the first stone, saying, boards are rubbish. But and yes, so not enough training and not enough pay. Now, I think the training is available. My wife also marks. We're both language teachers, and she marks the speaking, and she tells me there are people who clearly do not read the stuff. That they don't even seem to know, and that is worrying, obviously. You will have those people as well. I mark writing, which is a lot easier. The training is here. We get standardization. It's as good as it gets. I mean, I don't know what more you can do other than expect people to be reliable. Of course, you do that for the money, but you also try to obviously do a good job for the students. I mean, and to be fair, the recommendations of the board for me for marking was be generous. So I can't really fault that. The recommendation was, and a few times I was a bit too harsh, and that is something obviously, I don't want to be too harsh. I was told a few times, right, you're too harsh. Be more generous. Great, I can do that. But again, I made mistakes even though I was trying to. So,
and that, I have to be honest, that's not something I've done either. Exam marking. I mean, a few people have told me it does help with your own teaching as well, if you've been through that process of training and marking papers and understanding what's needed. But what I do, I don't know if you'd agree with that. I can see you smiling there.
You have to do it. It is the best CPD.
Yeah.
Well, come on, people do it for money. Let's not.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what you mean now. It's the that is the way people get you in by saying, I had a head of department who said that a lot.
It is useful, and I've learned a few things. I suppose, but ultimately, again, let's not kid ourselves pretending that it's the most amazing personal development things I've ever done. No. I have never done it for this. I have used that phrase myself.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I saw you laughing there. I thought, that's a cliche. Maybe.
Hello, what about £800 more for my holiday? Please. That's kind of weird.
Get a head start on your fresh start with Bloomsbury Education. With 30% off all our books till the end of September, this back-to-school sale is your chance to stock up on CPD titles, classroom resource banks, lesson ideas, and practical solutions to every teacher's pain points. Browse titles on sale from the Like a Ninja series, The Week Junior, and Let's Talk picture books. Perfect for the new school year. From leadership to inclusivity and maths to mental health, Bloomsbury Education has books for every step of your teaching journey. Welcome back to school at bloomsbury.com/back to school sale.
Over 7,500 primary schools are already using Capel Primary to boost confidence in teaching foundation subjects. Our expert-created curriculum planning, lessons and CPD are here to support and upskill you, whether you're a subject lead or classroom teacher. If you've got knowledge gaps in art, music, computing or beyond, we've got you covered. Head to capelprimary.com and empower your teaching today.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles.
It's not something I plan to do. It's not something I plan to do, but I mean, something that I have noticed in recent, I don't know, just an observation, when you look at mark schemes, I sometimes find in science especially, they can be quite picky about language. And what frustrates me is when you have students who are like 15, 16, they're doing GCSEs, students aren't particularly picky about language, are they? I mean, one thing that really annoys me about science, sorry to be sort of science specific, is the word amount. Because if you say use the same amount of liquid or, whatever it is, mass in grams, amount. And of course, amount is a word that we use all the time. Use a different amount, and it's an everyday word. But in an exam situation, there was a time where it would get 0 marks. You can't say amount because you've got to say mass, or you've got to say volume. And it's just one of those things that used to frustrate me. And then more recently, I noticed that they'd sort of eased up on that. Do you see what I mean? I think I get frustrated when they're very picky about language. I know you're a language teacher, Yannick.
No,
so
I agree. And ultimately, this is what you will address in your last minute input to students. Remember, do not use the word amount. You can use the word, you'll have that PowerPoint that says, remember, before you get into your exam, geography is the same. Remember, if you talk about if you talk about maps, you need to use this. And in languages, it's the same. Remember your numbers 1 to 7, sentence starter. And, in a way, but people criticize that the way the exams have become such a series of loophole to. But at the same time, it's that's what it is. It is an exam, and it's not necessarily fair. But you've got I know
one of the things today. I mean, that came up today. I met with some colleagues earlier, and that actually came up in our conversation today about the system, the GCSE, how we assess. The fact that, I had a look today at some statistics. I was doing a little bit of research. I did a little bit of homework, which was the first bit of work I think I've done this holiday, to be honest. Just looking at what sort of things are sort of topical. But one of the things that came out of that when I did a little search online and also again today was just that how the system of how we actually assess students. And I've been saying for a while that it feels like the system is set up to measure us rather than suit what the students need at various stages of their life. One of the things that was said today to me in conversation was we were trying to do too much too young on the and the focus is wrong. I read today we've still got 1 in 8 students 16 to 24 who are NEET, not in education, employment or training, which and I don't know if that figure has got more or less, but it's not good enough, is it? So I don't know. It just feels to me like the system is a little bit broken in terms of that. And
you know why? You know why you're not a consultant? Because you don't know. You need to have some certainties about things, and that is always a problem. I am very much like you. There's a lot of questions and not necessarily good answers or answers that never I don't think it's easy. I don't think there's necessarily a solution,
Yeah.
a single solution, that's for sure. But yes, I mean, I don't know, are we too strict on what we offer and how we assess?
Yeah.
But
And keeping students in. I mean, I think what was said again today was, we've got this thing. We became obsessed. I'm not going to get political about it, but previously we've had this thing where we keep students in till they're 18. We're trying to sort of keep them in, I suppose, the environment where they're doing academic qualifications. The other thing that came out today is it's very hard to actually get an apprenticeship, for example. I don't know. I just feel like we're getting something fundamentally wrong when students are around 16 to 18. I don't know. I don't know if it's very different from when I was at school, but it does feel like there's less opportunity. It feels like we're pushing them. You've got to do academic. We're trying to say we're railroading them into this, doing some kind of academic course through their career. I don't know if we've got it right.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's the legacy of Gove, but I don't think in practice, I think we do encourage students to be more practical. I think we've all realized that went terribly wrong, the academic route. And I mean, the thing is that because we've gone so far, we haven't managed to balance that. And at the minute, I think it's quite hard for people to go. I mean, there are more people, there are less opportunities, and therefore we decided that academia and grades were the selection for everything. Whereas instead of looking at someone who's actually really good practical skills, but that if that person doesn't have a 4 in English and math, they have to pass that. Yeah, it's wrong, but I don't know. I think it's I've in my school, I was helping some French kids actually who could barely speak English. Now these kids were clever, but they never got. They came at the end of year 11 barely speaking English. Now they couldn't do anything that they wanted to do because their grades didn't reflect the potential. And
no. And it's an inflexible system, isn't it? I don't know. It feels, again, I can only sort of think about my own experience as a parent. My eldest daughter, I felt like she wasn't ready for GCSEs. I do very strongly believe if she'd have started a year later, she'd have done a lot better. I don't know. And the other thing, I think I've heard this come up as well. We start students at school very young, don't we, compared to some other countries, I think. We're getting students into school like 4 or 5 years old. We seem to have this obsession with that. I don't know. I don't think that works. I think there's other countries that start them a lot later.
Yeah, Finland and the northern countries.
Finland, yeah. I was thinking Scandinavia and places like that, yeah. And I don't know if it's significantly better outcomes. I'd be interested to look at some data on it. But yeah, I don't know. I think we've got a very inflexible, very outdated traditional system, and that isn't really working. But I suppose, I called this show Big Changes or More of the Same. And I wanted to sort of say it's a bit of a big question to just throw at you now. But do you foresee big changes in education, Yannick? Or is it just going to keep going round and round as it is?
I don't know. I think yeah, there will be big changes, but unfortunately, it will come about when things crash. It won't come as something we've planned. It will come as it will become. I mean, the situation in terms of recruiting teachers, for example, it is because in my school, like 1/3 of teachers were practically supply. It's just not viable. The number of students who don't attend school, so yeah, there's something somewhere that just doesn't work, and unfortunately, I think it creates even a bigger gap between rich people and and people who are deprived. There's no doubt about that, because some kids will be quite happy not to go to school and not learn anything. And unfortunately, I mean, again, if you're talking about like maybe 20 years ago, there were all these courses. I mean, they still exist, but I think less people do them. The access to education, so the opportunity to go back to education when you've been in work for maybe like 10 years, and you realize, well, actually, I want to go back to college to study my A levels and then go to university, and that's the way it should be. Spending money on education and on our kids rather than getting money of them for going to university. We're not investing in them. We're not investing in we're investing in staff, in people in education, but not in the student themselves, which is outrageous. They're the victim of political political decisions. And we are, as well as teachers, because ultimately I'm going to do what I'm told. You like me have been through the changing our structure, the lesson. This is the next best thing. That structure will guarantee that. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote down a few things, and you've just mentioned that one of the things that I wrote down on my list, which we might get to in a minute, is the direct instruction, or the versus the more student-centered sort of style of teaching. Because I just made a little bit of a list of all the things that have come up. And it's usually, I've got to be honest, it's normally on X with me.
Yeah.
We know what it's like on there. But it is interesting.
I know.
These things are quite interesting. But I've also got some stats. I just wanted to mention, I'm a bit scatty at the moment. You know what it's like in the holiday. But one of the things, I've got some statistics here on underachievement, and it says here it's declining pass rates. So only 58.3% of students passed GCSE maths and 60.2% passed English in these 2025 results, the lowest in a decade. The other thing that I found interesting, and this is something that the Secretary of State for Education mentioned about white British working class peoples. It says here, white British working class peoples fare particularly poorly, with just 19% achieving strong passes in core subjects. So I know Bridget Phillipson has come out and mentioned this, hasn't she, about white working class students, which,
edgy when we talk about, I mean, I have seen it in my school. It's not just a stat. It's when you work in school, you do see it, and students whose parents do not value education and do not support schools. In a school where there was a majority of ethnic minorities, they just stood out. Those white working class kids, parents kicking off for anything, for a detention, for not really, calling homework not done. Well, so what? They shouldn't have homework. So I don't quite understand that attitude of not wanting, like my own kids say, I'm better than you, Dad. I said, well, I hope so. To be honest, that's my idea, that my kids will be better than me in every possible way. Like academically, like better people, better citizens, and do something that make the world a better place. So but I suppose, we are educated. I don't know what that means. We are educated, actually, whereas they don't value that. I don't know what. They don't value education as a way to better yourself.
I don't really understand it. I mean, I'd consider myself to be from a working class background, but my parents valued education. I mean, they weren't well qualified themselves, but my mother particularly, she knew how important education was, and she made me revise. But it's one thing. I had a little bit of a rant, Yannick, on. I put it on Facebook, and I think I copied and pasted it and put it on X. Just about, I've been in Thailand for 4 weeks. I mean, I've never seen. Oh, did you see it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen schools in Thailand, to be fair. So I will just, I'll put my comments into context. But I do sometimes wonder when I think about the attitude when you look across the world, attitudes to education, how much education is valued. That I don't know. That's a very powerful thing. And there should be a contract between family and school community. And I think I was talking to a guest I spoke to a while back. I'll remember who it was in a minute, but mentioned this contract between the community and the family and the school, which seems to be broken. But my point I was making was, I don't think we do value it. I think there is quite a large proportion, and I'm not going to knock parents. I'm a parent. I'm not having a go at parents because it's difficult. Because let's be honest, households are having to have both parents working usually, and that's difficult. You've then got this, social media and the different influences on young people. It can't be easy to be a young person in this day and age, but it does feel like there's a lot of stuff out there that sort of belittles education, undermines education. The message always seems to be it's not working, it's broken, and sometimes that comes from us. I mean, I'm probably being a hypocrite. I'm being a hypocrite.
Mainly from us.
yeah. But I mean, that's something that I do wonder about. And there's obviously, and again, I saw another comment today from I think it was Sam Strickland, who I do really value his comments. I think he mentioned that we should stop saying that we can't have an influence as a teacher. A teacher still can have a really big influence. So even though you have this parental influence, we still do have the power to, have a large effect on these students. I'm rambling on a bit, aren't I, Yannick? But I think trying to get to the point is, would you agree with that? I mean, do you think that we do have a bit of an issue with our attitude to an entitled attitude to education in the UK?
But it's very interesting, that comment. I say, when he said that, teachers have some influence. So yes, I think we do. But at the same time, we are a lot less respected as people, as adults. There's a reason for that. Is because a lot of adults behave in a way that children now don't. I mean, before, I think we were a trusted reputation, professional. People came to us, students respected us. Now the reason why I think they respect adults, teachers less, because us, we are adults. And when you see what the adults, sometimes the adults that these children live around do to them, but there's no surprise that they don't respect or value adults. They probably, to trust someone, to trust us as teacher, when it's not enough to say, well, look, I'm here to teach you, be with me and I'll get you that grade. They don't suddenly say, oh yeah, oh sure, yes, let's do this. So yeah, I think we do have an influence, especially if you're in a school where you're established and you've been there for years. I mean, that changes everything. We talk about, that's the relationship. Relationship is not something that you create in, and I've seen that a lot on Twitter. It's not something that you create in one day. So what do you do until that gets better? You need to have systems, that's for sure. But yes, when you're in a school if you have you ever taken a group of year 7 up to year 11 in your subject? Well, that is, I have seen that only once in a school I was with a teacher, and that was amazing. The so emotional, the kids, the teacher. Come on. But yeah, that was such a difference, and these kids got amazing results because they just they trusted that teacher, and you do a lot more than teach your subject, of course. So
it certainly feels like if you, and I think you're starting at a new school soon, Yannick, aren't you?
Yeah.
I do think that always feels a really difficult thing to do, to get that trust. That seems to be a real barrier to overcome when you're fairly new to a school to get. I don't know. It shouldn't be like that, should it? Though it shouldn't be like that.
No. I'll talk about it a little bit later. But what was your question? I wanted to say something more about that. Yes, the influence of teachers. Yeah, it's true in terms of results as well. So yes, that's quite interesting. I was looking at results and I was thinking, well, yeah, some students have done well, some haven't, and I kind of knew that before. I knew my students, and some I was quite disappointed. And I looked, and it was the same, very very similar across subjects. And I've seen that. I think was Barry Smith said, yeah, some same similar results, whether the teacher was good or weak, or in some cases they hardly had a teacher. And I'm thinking, well, am I making that much of a difference then?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, sometimes it does. Yeah, once you start thinking about that, the actual measurement of improvement that one teacher would have. But I don't know. But then results can be influenced by lots of factors, and again, it becomes a political thing. So you can look at results and you can say, "Oh, the results have gone down or they've gone up," and you think, well, there's so many different factors. How difficult the paper was, where the grade boundaries were pitched. There's just so many variables, isn't there?
Yeah, but on the whole, I think you see your students, you've got your grades, you've got a fairly good idea, and they should get those grades. They should. I mean, yeah. After that, I think individual. If it's whole cohorts, yeah, there's a problem. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about some cases. I think on the whole, yeah.
But while I remember, I'm just going to put up on the screen there, guys, if you can see it, that this show is brought to you in partnership with Hatchet Learning, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. So do check that out, guys. That is Hatchet Learning, which is HACHETTE is how that is spelt. And those are our sponsors, guys. So do have a look at that and go and visit hatchetlearning.com and explore their range of titles that they have on there with their educational books. Okay, so like I said, I don't know if I cut you off or not there, Yannick. Apologies if I did. But I'm just going to, again, this is all about thinking what's changing, what's new, could anything be new, what are the current trends and things that are going on in education. If you would like to make a comment on anything that we've said, you should be able to see a comment box underneath your screen. If anyone's watching, thank you. We've got a few people that have joined us this evening. It's really nice that you've joined us, and I hope everyone in the profession and outside has had a really good summer break. It's not over yet. Let's remind ourselves it is not over yet. There is still a few more days. We can be in denial for a little bit longer.
And the training day on Monday.
And the training day, I think we've got two, actually. I should know, really should know by now, but I'm pretty sure we've got 2 training days. As I said, I did a little bit of sort of research around some things. There's so many things that we could talk about, but there's just a few statistics that I thought were interesting. It said here resits are not delivering. It says only 17% of 17 plus students pass GCSE maths resits, which suggests that this policy of requiring a resit isn't really working, which is another thing that I find quite interesting. I mentioned earlier that there's still 1 in 8 16 to 24-year-olds are NEETs. They're not in education, employment or training. The other sort of topics that came up was SEND. We were lucky enough to have an Ofsted drop in the last week, Yannick.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if I mentioned it to you before. And there seems to be quite a lot of focus around SEND at the moment. Obviously, there's increasing numbers of students on SEND. It says here, local councils are converting closed mainstream schools into SEND facilities. London alone has seen SEND pupils rise 62% over the past decade. And it says, while the government is investing £740 million, critics warn the funding model remains inefficient. So those are just a few of the things affecting education there. The other thing that I've wanted to look ahead, has got a few more stats. Sorry to be throwing stats at you, but the next sort of topic that came out was teacher burnout, staffing crisis, and isolated supply teachers, because this is something that you've mentioned, Yannick, as well. The fact that there's a large number of students who are basically got temporary teachers sort of standing in front of them in a lot of cases. It says a Twinkle survey found 41% of teachers described their workload as unmanageable. 89% reported fatigue, and 80% expressed cynicism towards the profession. This is the high turnover. Nearly 13% of newly qualified teachers leave after their first year, and almost 19% leave by year 2. So we've still got this problem with recruitment and retention of teachers. I don't really know where we're going to go with that one.
No, it's difficult, and I think, obviously, last year I was walking in the corridor, and I was hearing two kids chat, and they were looking at the timetable, and one said to the other, "Oh God, oh, she's not here, he's not here." So out of 5 lessons, 3 of them were supply, and my heart just sank, because that's 3 lessons, and supply in my school was just awful. That basically people who were babysitting.
Yeah,
my heart sank, thinking, oh, it's so our kids are deprived, and on top of that, they just don't get expert teaching. So
no, we need to remember, with teachers, it's easy for us to look at things from our own point of view, but imagine what it's like for those students. I mean, deep down, I was always told, I remember early on in my training, students do want to learn. They do want to do well.
They do.
And that's the thing, they do. It's very, if a student appears not to be, then they're just really covering it up. It's a survival tactic they've developed a lot of the time, these students, because they know they can't do it. But the other thing, again, I think I've mentioned this before, if you're a teacher and you've got a class and they've had 3 lessons of cover and they come to you period 4 or period 5, you can understand why the consistency isn't there. If you're fully staffed in a school and you've got reasonable policies and there's structure, then it's just so much easier, isn't it? So
it is difficult, and they come to your lesson, and you've got I had great routines, so they came, it was quiet, and sometimes I could see they wanted to tell you things because they feel nobody's listening to them as well, and so there was always a little bit of time for that. But and I thought there were always quite a few kids, when you leave lesson, thank you, sir. And I've never quite had that before. And as you say, we always, but even in a rough school like mine, I think 90% of the students came and wanted to do well, just want to be seen, want to be noticed, want to do well, want to have a good day, good lessons, learn something, come out of a lesson feeling like, that was. I always ask that questions. Yeah, did you always try to do an activity? Did you what did you enjoy today? Okay, was it good for you? Did you like that? Some students have their days as well. It was rubbish. Oh, fine, it'll be better tomorrow. Okay, but fine. Thank you for your feedback.
Well, there you go. Yeah, but like you say, they do appreciate being seen, being listened to. That doesn't mean you're pandering to them all the time.
Oh.
But it's difficult. I think we do sometimes forget what it's like to be a student at school in the current climate, with all the pressures and everything else, with the fun, the staffing crisis. It must be hard for the students.
I think so. And what? My aim is always, always aim to make them laugh at least once. And I absolutely love if they always do say something that's going to make me laugh. That's great. It's great. And I can, pick on someone and they say something back to me, it's something on the edge of nasty. And I love that. Just on the edge. And I play the game and
But that's what's great about working with young people. And I've always said this is because they are young people, and they are going to make mistakes, and they are going to need guidance, and that's a really big part of it.
They've always got something. They've always got something to say. There is always something that you get back, and I like that. It's tiring, yes, it is, but it is enjoyable.
Yeah.
Get a head start on your fresh start with Bloomsbury Education. With 30% off all our books till the end of September, this back-to-school sale is your chance to stock up on CPD titles, classroom resource banks, lesson ideas, and practical solutions to every teacher's pain points. Browse titles on sale from the Like a Ninja series, The Week Junior, and Let's Talk Picture Books. Perfect for the new school year. From leadership to inclusivity and maths to mental health, Bloomsbury Education has books for every step of your teaching journey. Welcome back to school at bloomsbury.com/back-to-school sale.
Over 7,500 primary schools are already using Capel Primary to boost confidence in teaching foundation subjects. Our expert-created curriculum planning, lessons and CPD are here to support and upskill you, whether you're a subject lead or classroom teacher. If you've got knowledge gaps in art, music, computing or beyond, we've got you covered. Head to capelprimary.com and empower your teaching today.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles.
When something goes well, it's certainly, it's a funny sort of roller coaster teaching, isn't it? To be honest, I find it a bit of a roller coaster. If you've had a good lesson or a good day, it's like, I've cracked it. And then the next day, come down again.
That's happened so many times with a student, difficult student. They go in your lesson, they have such a great day, and it's just so happy. And the next day, it's back to square one. That's hard.
Yeah, it's funny. It's up and down. And I've had times where I've gone in, I think, oh my God, it's not been a good day or a good week, and and then suddenly a class will be good, and I'll be like, I don't know. I sometimes find that just when I need students to be good, they are, and I think actually, this is all right. But I don't know. It's the nature of being human, isn't it? Things are different from day to day. So how are we doing for time? We've got about 10 minutes. It's just rushing by. I wanted to just mention, because it has come up a lot, and as I said, I made a list of things on Twitter that I'd seen on Twitter that had been discussed. What do you make of this direct instruction, Yannick? This is something that comes up time and time again, where someone will come on, I'm not going to mention any names, but someone will come in and say, direct instruction, is that what it's called? Direct instruction or
I guess it's
or explicit instruction. And people will say that's the only way to teach. It's the best way to teach. If you're not teaching using direct instruction, you're wasting the student's time. It's not an effective way. If you're not using direct instruction, you shouldn't be faffing about with group work. You definitely shouldn't be using discovery learning. How dare you?
I mean, obviously, I tend to be.
What do you make of this, Yannick? This the direct instruction
I tend to be a big fan of direct instruction. So yes, but saying that, I think there's place. I'm a language teacher, of course. Direct instruction is important to model and things like that. But there is also a lot of place for. Space for group work. I mean, group work I think is invaluable to let the students practice and talk to each other. I think it's important. Discovery, no, I'm not very much in favor. Although, sometimes you present patterns and you see what do you see and what do you work out. So, I wouldn't go for this discovery. I don't think that works. But I think there's always a space for a bit of everything, depending on your style.
Yeah. I think horses for courses, isn't it? I mean, like you say, you're as a languages teacher, your direct instruction is going to lend itself to that. A lot of cases, similar with science. Obviously, if I'm teaching atomic structure, you can't really sort of discuss what atomic structure is, or I discover it in the lesson, because we're not at the cutting edge of it when we teach GCSE. So the only time discovery, I think, comes into science is if you're doing a practical, probably more at Key Stage 3, and you want it to be a bit of a surprise for the students, like there'll be a flame or something like that.
You do your observation and you
be like, what's
your conclusions. I mean, that is also how we learn, isn't it? We observe, we look at patterns, and we draw conclusions. So people have found out things by discovering. So yeah, I understand that people think it's different because we are teaching students, and people say don't waste their time with discovering when you can just tell them. But then again, it's like, is that what education is about? Tell them. They.
Yeah. And that might be the Gove effect as well. Still, or his, dare I say, legacy of that. Just tell them, or
I mean, I'm not a fan of every single minute count in a lesson. I'm not a fan of that. I understand it, but come on.
We spoke about this before, haven't we? I think with direct instruction, it is. I'm not against it. I think the issue is people who are very binary about this. And I think that's when it gets very unhelpful, when people will shut down debate because they say, well, you're wrong, because direct instruction is the best. And I can see what people mean. It is an efficient use of time, isn't it? I think it probably is a more efficient use of time. There's probably an argument to say that there will be a bit more progress potentially if with direct instruction. But yeah, I certainly agree that every moment of every lesson, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to put the glues away or whatever. Everything is just, rigidly timed. And I don't know. I just don't think when you work with human beings, I think you've got to treat people like human beings. We wouldn't accept it if we went in for CPD and every second of that day had to be us doing something or listening to someone speak, because we probably wouldn't want that either. That wouldn't be palatable to us. So
5 hours a day,
which again we sometimes forget. What must that be like for a student if it's direct instruction 5 hours every single day? You need a bit of balance. I don't know, a little bit more leeway. The other thing I've said before, and students aren't getting as much sort of break time, not doing as much PE perhaps. There's a less of a music, things like music have reduced. And I don't know, I think that's probably not really helping. I remember when I was at school really looking forward to my art lessons. I'd have maybe 2 hours, like a double art lesson in an afternoon. I used to really look forward to it because it was, we could just sit, we could sketch, draw, and I think our art teacher was quite sort of laid back with his expectations, but it was always just a really, I don't know,
you mess about. You could mess about.
Yeah, you could mess about. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I think he went out of the back and he was having a little smoke of something as well back in those.
And there was music playing, wasn't there? Music playing while you was doing.
Yeah, it was very chilled, and I mean it was great because it was, but I don't know. I just think if you're like work, and it's wall to wall, I don't know. I just
all work and no play.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes Jack a very dull boy.
Dull boy, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's truth in it, though, isn't there? I mean, is that an effective way to spend your day, just constantly on the go?
I mean, it's hard in that some schools have got some quite regimented way that they want you to teach, and of course, I mean, I'd say in a way, find a school that suits you. But it's quite difficult as well, I think, and then the way you have to teach and the lessons you have to teach as well. There's very little place for. I mean, I've said that before, but I remember through my scholarity, I had amazing teachers that were so different. I learned different things from different people. They were not such different styles, and that's what, you know. And of course, you clicked with some and didn't with others, but you know, nevertheless, now it feels like if you go into my department, everybody will be teaching the same lesson at the same time because of consistency and you know, they need to have the same diet.
Yeah.
There's very little that I do that is me. It's, you know, I'd like to share my passion for, because that's how I got my passion. Just like a lot of students, I got my passion for, you know, some artist and author because of some teacher shared that with me in the first place. That we don't do that anymore. I think, you know, or we do it, but with difficulty because it's not in the plan.
Yeah.
You know, what made you a science teacher? You know, what is your passion about science? Does that come across in your teaching? You know, like telling those little stories. My son, remember, came back home with these little stories from Mr. Featherstone. The geography teacher. You've got to be called Mr. Featherstone and have a jacket with brown patches there. He came back with the stories. You know, he came back with the stories the teachers told.
They do. They love the stories. Yeah.
You do remember that, you know, no matter what age, you know, and the kids, if you see some kids that you've taught 2 years ago, oh, do you remember when you said that? So you remember when you said that? You know, no, I don't, but somehow that, oh, do you remember what I told? No, but I remember when you said that, you know.
Yeah, they just stick. These things stick. These off-piste moments.
Because it's you. You know, it's you, your passion, your story, and that is where the students relate. You know, rather than
that's the thing that I think some people get confused. I think it's people say we shouldn't be seen as entertainers, but I always think it is our responsibility to try and switch the students on, isn't it? You know, if you are teaching a subject, you've got to have some passion for it, haven't you? So, like you say, it is our job to try to, you know, not everything. It's a classic, isn't it? The kids come in, are we having a fun lesson today, sir? Are we having a fun? It's probably one of my worst. What are we doing a practical with as a science teacher? Oh, so we're doing a practical. They love a practical. But yeah, are we having a fun lesson? And you think, well, I don't know. You tell me at the end. I never know what's a good answer. I'm always tempted to go a little bit sarcastic when.
Of course. Yeah, I don't know. It depends.
It
depends on my mood. My answer to that depends on my mood.
Yeah, exactly.
He'd be like, no.
My classic go-to is just go to the front of the building and have a look. Does it still say school?
You know.
Maybe I need to. Be a bit.
It's fair enough. It's fair enough. You know, it's fair enough.
It is. We like to have fun, don't we? So you know, like you say, it's fair enough. If you've got 5 hours of direct instruction, I think you've earned a fun lesson, haven't you?
I need to have fun. I need to be a bit of you know, an entertainer, an actor, a bit of a clown if I can, because if I got a lesson where kids came and they haven't had a laugh, you know, I just need, you know, sometimes I'm the worst. I just tell them to be quiet and I make some noises and they're all looking around and, you know, sometimes I'm ashamed. Thinking, wow.
That's gold dust, isn't it? When the teacher starts being a bit strange, that's gold dust.
Know, just, I do like to have fun and hopefully, you know, teach them. And
I mean, I feel I would agree. I think if I ever didn't ever enjoy any aspect of what I did, I think it would be time to call it a day on it, to be quite honest. You've got to sort of enjoy those moments, haven't you? We've got to the end of an hour, Yannick, there. So I just want to take the opportunity to anyone who's watched. There's been a few people watching. I just want to say thank you so much to those people across the platforms who have come and joined us and listened to us chatting away. I hope there's been some things that have been useful or interesting to people. If anyone out there is thinking that they'd really like to come on one of these shows, are very, very welcome. Get in touch at Teachers Talk Radio. If you'd like to be a host on Teachers Talk Radio, do get in touch. That may be something that someone out there might be thinking that they'd like to get involved with. I'd just like to thank Yannick for his time. Is there anything else you wanted to add that that we might have missed?
No, I'm wondering if on Tuesday I'm going to be smiling or not smiling until Christmas.
That's the thing, yeah.
Do you know, starting a new job, and I've been teaching for 25 years. I know it all, as you do.
Yeah.
Remember, yeah. I'm a big guru, and I'm still thinking, on that first lesson that the year 7s are going to come in, I'm gonna think, well, am I smart? Until the last minute, I'm trying to plan to be ready, and I can't. I just can't. Because I don't know what it's going to be like. Is it going to be a student messing about and straight away I'm going to be all hard on them, or be there nice and welcoming and thinking, oh, are they going to walk over me if I do this? Huh.
Oh, that is a good point. I mean,
back to an NQT, back to a starter.
Yeah, you're starting from scratch, aren't you? Do you start with a foundation of I'm a friendly teacher, or is it going to be, no, you're going to do what I say. Here's the seat plan. You're going to sit there. You're going to be quiet.
I think it's going to be that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way.
But that's because I'm scared. Because I'm scared of, So sometimes you've got to get the right balance, and you don't want to be too strict because first lesson, and then the kids think, oh my God, that's all.
And that's another thing that's been topical. I suppose we shouldn't get too deep into it now, maybe for the future, the relationships thing. I think there are some people out there who think when a teacher is having a joke with their students and being really lighthearted, they're trying a bit too hard to be the student's friend, perhaps. But that's not to say that relationships, this is something that I've said recently. I don't know if it's true. It could be rubbish. I don't know. But relationships on their own aren't enough. You've still got to show that, you plan, your stuff, what you're doing. You're going to use the policies that the school, and if they're good policies that are followed through, it's got a chance of being effective, isn't it? But no, it's not enough just to try and be friends with the students, is it? That's not that. No. Some people who say, again, some people think the word relationships is a bit of a swear word. Relationships, what are you talking about? And I find that could be quite a divisive word on edu.
Always it will be, because relationships aren't easy, and we're all in or not in relationships, and that being in relationship with one person is hard. With 30,
absolutely, yeah. Being expected that you're going to get on like a house on fire with 30 individual different people, it's not going to happen, is it? But relationships, I think, again, it's another word that's sort of misconstrued on Twitter sometimes, in the teaching sort of community, because it doesn't mean, relationships for me is just being consistent sometimes, a student knowing what they're going to get from you. And I think you need that, like, long term. And like you say, that is the challenge for you going into a new job, because you're sort of testing the water a little bit. You've got to be, you've got to establish that relationship, but at the same time, through experience that can take time.
There isn't going to be any relationship until I don't decide that it is. You establish your relationships. I'm not sure how long that takes, and with some students it will not quite work. It will work with the majority, because they have to get used to you. You have to get used to them, but ultimately you are the teacher. You can't. But it's setting up your routines and getting those students to understand your routines, to understand how you work, to trust you. I think if they don't trust you, there's no relationship. But you don't trust someone on the first day, do you? Think about everyday life. That guy. Give me £20. Trust me. Ooh, No, sorry, mate.
Yeah. No, you're not. If a new member of staff, new head teacher comes in,
Yeah.
day one, you're not going to think, oh, yes, this is the perfect person.
That's a very good example, actually, to anybody who says that. Yeah, think that's the right example. The new head teacher comes in. I trust the guy straight away. No, of course.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to wait a little bit. Oh, I don't trust you.
The jury will be out.
Yeah, of course.
The jury will be out for quite some time.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And exactly in the same way. So with some teachers, it will never work. And with some, it will work. Some people will go, yeah, that's great. I'm fully behind that guy. And others will say, nah, I don't like him, or I don't like him, or he's done something to me. So that is a very good example, actually, to anybody. It's the same relationship with your staff as with your students. And you'd expect the same things from a head: to be fair, to be to be noticed, to be seen, it's exactly that, actually. I will reuse this.
Well, it'll be the first time if I've actually said something useful. It'll be the first time in quite some weeks.
I will. Takes time.
It does. Right. Okay. So I just want to say thanks again to everyone who's listened in. Thanks so much for Yannick. Yannick, for giving up your time, coming on for the third time.
Thank you.
It's very nice to see you. And I think we'll end it there, guys. But thank you very much for watching the Twilight Show today on Teachers Talk Radio. And I will see you back here in 2 weeks. Have a great evening, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your holiday. Remember, it's not over yet.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.